Suppose I should have checked to make sure I was still on Restream. I am. Double check this. Posted to my Facebook.
Alright, I heard that email saying you are live. Go
Or
check
something.
things out.
Or something like that.
Or something like that. No, I mean, it could have been spam.
Alright, Restream post to my thing on Facebook. Alright. Charged up my remote. After months and months and months of use, it was finally flashing a light saying, hey, maybe you should get me some power.
Now you can handle it.
Well, I fully believe if I'd kept using it, it would have lasted another month or two. The thing is fantastic for power. Alright, well, we're going to do this. We're going to create the old classic crate, because I think that'd be fun. I haven't done something like that in ages. So that's where we're starting. Pretty straightforward. Now, one of the key things of making a crate is reference, right? We gotta have reference. So I didn't plan this out ahead of time, so I'm gonna look up some crate references.
that was bad. I can't believe I laughed at that.
Well, you know, if you want me to do a crate job, I have to have crate references. At the side of what kind of crate we're gonna do. You know, is it going to be an animal crate? Is it going to be a milk crate? Is it going to be a wooden crate? Is it going to be for smuggling drugs crate? You know, what kind of crate is it? Well, I kind of like that. Let's see. I'm going to pop this over on the stream.
Our question is, after you're done modeling it, are you going to text crate?
Yes, I am. We're going to go through it all. We're going to model it. We're going to have our low poly, and then we're going to duplicate it, so we're going to add high poly details, and then we're going to go through the rest of the texture workflow. Back in the day, what we used to actually do is we take some of these high resolution images and we'd actually carefully paste in the board and the nails and all those details just for the texturing part of it, but we're gonna do a little smarter than that. At least we're gonna try anyway. I think we're gonna go with the classic. This is actually somebody's CG crate that they created. You can just tell by the nails on it, right, are terrible. It's perfectly symmetrical, blah blah blah. But
it's too fucking perfect.
Yeah. This is crate stock. But I think I'm gonna go with something that is sort of indicative of the classic board with one angle sort of deal crate.
You know, not an old wooden coffin crate.
Yeah, I thought about something like that. Like there's down here, there's something like this, which is kind of neat. This would be something like that. Get some neat ones. The last job I had, we got printers that came in these really nice crates actually. Not so the ones that would come from Xerox would be packed in boxes and styrofoam, and they'd be designed not to move, but they were more solid machines, so they could handle a little bit of abuse. But they also were contracted to do Ricoh, which is another printing company, and their machines were a lot flimsier, so they had to pack them a lot more securely when they were shipping them to places. And the crates that they use are really nice. You could reuse those crates. They actually wanted them back when you were done with them because they were so nice. They had nice little metal latches and stuff like that, which might be a fun thing to do. Let's go Rico shipping crate and see if that'll come up on here. See, I'd have to get good reference images because I don't remember what it all looked like with the latches. Oh, one of those images was kind of, it's not a bad idea there. I think that almost looks like it's rendered. It's such a great picture. That's a fun one. So we'll kind of do something like this. Maybe we'll do the support palette underneath too.
Try look at I send you some open sources if you can use those. I don't think you can, but
don't really. It doesn't really matter about the open source or not. Like I'm looking more at, because we'll figure out what the finish and stuff is when we get there. I'm just looking more at the design phase right now. Where do I draw my inspiration from for this classic CG exercise, building up a wooden crate? It's like the first thing that I ever did in CG when I was looking up tutorials. That was like the only thing I could, that was around, was building a wooden crate. So I think we'll stick pretty close to a classic one. I like some of these ideas where they have the logos or wording on them, so we'll try to do some of that when we get into the texture side. But in terms of actually modeling this, let's get symmetry going here. If I grab, I'm going to get rid of these extra edges because they'll actually be a problem doing some of this. And I go to extrude, and I want to inset, 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 inset. So all of those have the same radius, and if I want to make this really easy on myself, I just grab all the faces and I pull those in. Oops, back to extrude, and I pull those in just a little bit, and we're pretty much there. Like, we've already got our basic crate. Right, fantastic, job done. Alright, on to the next thing. Hey Stark Raven, how's it going, man? So, I'll pop this up here. Snapshot these as I go. How are we doing, Stark Raven? Alright, so now we're going to get complicated. And by complicated, I mean not really that complicated, but we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to create a cube, which we're going to actually turn into a board. So, well, very simple, right? Boards are very simple.
Well, I'm actually trying to do the same thing you're doing right now, just in Blender.
Oh, you should be able to.
And I also have the barrel afterwards.
So, about that thickness. Eyeballing it looks good. And then I'm just going to tilt this into 45 degrees, because I'm actually going to pop this in here. This is our little support beam, as you see on many of those. And you notice it doesn't quite go as far as I need it to. Now, a lot of those, they have wood that's shaped and it goes in the right direction, which I could do, well, I think, just extruding it enough so that it fits in there is good. And I'm making it a little bit thicker too, because I'm going to try to match the thickness a little bit. Now, the great thing about this, if I wanted to create a nice X, I could mirror and weld. Oh, that's right. This is one thing that ZBrush does weird sometimes. It should mirror and weld that properly, but what it's doing is it's giving me this. And it's a specific issue with ZBrush. I think if I mirror it, what did we do to fix this now? I go Z modeler, and I go multiple edge loops and insert one right in the center. That sort of prevents that. Well, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll just duplicate it and mirror it. So that's what we would expect to get, just as an FYI, something like that, right? But I didn't want to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to my top subtool and I merge down, and I'm fine with the overlapping ness of this. I could probably take a second here and fix this. So I've got one of these selected. Let's go auto groups. So each of these has their own group. And what I'll do is I'll isolate this guy with the mask. In a 3D program, you wouldn't need to do this in like Blender. You can model it out. Delete construction history. There's no history on the thing to do that with, or you mean the undo history? It's not gonna do that either. It's just the way ZBrush is. So I'm gonna use a single edge loop, and I pop that right down to there. Single edge loop. I'm gonna pop that right down to there, and I'm gonna isolate this. I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'll pop that right down to there, and I'm gonna pop that right down to there. And so what I do is I isolate this, and I use QMesh, and I'm on single polygon. I should be able to get rid of that without any problems. And I'll do the same thing. I'll invert my selection, and I'll get rid of. This is complaining about the symmetry, so I'll just turn the symmetry off. Now, for some reason, wants to keep that interfaces on this guy, so let's be a little bit mindful of that. And it actually, there we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the single polygons. This has become more complicated than it needs to be, but that's okay. Sometimes that's one of the quirks when you're doing modeling in a program like this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to bridge these two edges across. Bridge these two edges across. And then I'm going to stitch these guys together. Which actually might be a bad idea. I'm thinking about it in my head, and I'm thinking, wouldn't it make more sense? I'm going to back off now. Would it make more sense if one of these boards was whole and one of these boards was not? It might make some sense. That's also why a lot of these crates, I think, just have one board as opposed to two. Which maybe I'll just go with that. Maybe I'll just delete this. Delete hidden. Screw it. I'll just do that. Alright, so what I can do now. Oops. I'm going to mirror this on another axis. So now that I've got those guys like that, I'm going to center this pivot, and I'm going to hold control, and I'm going to then release control, and I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to snap that into 90 degrees so that, oh, it didn't want to duplicate for me. Well, fine. I will duplicate this, and then on that other object I will snap it and rotate it into 90 so that we have those where they are. We don't need them on the top or the bottom. Well, we could have them on the top or the bottom, but we probably don't need it on the top or the bottom. Oh, that's funny. So we'll kind of do it like this. And maybe we'll just get rid of that center faces there. I don't think I need those for anything. So this is pretty good, right? It's a good start. Now, something I want to see is if I try to do any kind of beveling on this, is it going to be nice? Like if I were to take this and this, and then extrude polygroup. No, I don't like that. Oops. Too far back. Look at my reference crate scan. Go back to the previous search. Really don't like looking at just the CGI ones. That's kind of what's coming up. So let's look at. You notice a lot of the actual crates, the real crates, they have plywood construction, and they don't always have an even number of supports on them. That's what I want. So maybe I should rethink my my angle supports. It's funny, the last time I did a crate, I just did it. I didn't even think about the fact that other crates weren't even made that way because I wasn't thinking about that. I was just following a tutorial, and that was like 10 years ago. And so I'm rethinking as I'm going through this and going, huh, maybe I don't need that to look quite the way I was thinking. And
yep.
I like, where's this one here? I like this one with the triangle covered corners on it. Not that guy. No, it's on here somewhere. I should have went and like grabbed pure ref and just thrown some stuff in there. Well, anyway, I like the triangle corners for supports. This one, I like that. You see how there's little triangle supports? And so instead of doing this, because I'm thinking about the plywood aspect of it, so maybe what I'll do is I will do 2 of those. I'll delete these guys. So update my snapshot there. And maybe I'll do the triangle supports all the way around just for fun. Now if I look at that one, they're just on the sides, it's not on the tops. I'm trying to think of the best way to do that, and the best way I can think to do this is to duplicate this. Okay, I don't care. We're going to make a cube. We're going to scale this down. We're actually going to bring this right to a corner, so I should turn off the symmetry. And in this case, I'm going to use the existing topology line, so it's a little bit covered up by this, but I'm going to use the lines of the mesh to line it up, to line up that triangle for me. A little bit anyway. I'll probably, because I don't have snapping like I would in another program. I want to create those purposeful triangles, so what I'll do is I'm going to get rid of this one side first of all. Insert single edge loop. So what I'll do is I'll create one. What was I thinking this? I was thinking I was going to scale it up first so that it had the right effect.
No, I probably would have just on Blender just triangulate one polygon and cut the other half of it off.
That's
there you go, a triangle.
That's kind of what I was thinking, but I'm overthinking now. So let's just make this flat because it is going to be there's going to be some thickness, right? Because you can see that there's some thickness there, and then they butt against each other. So I'll do this, and I'll go and insert multiple edge loops. Oops. Specified amount, which is 1, and then I will do this. So I got my triangle shape. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Put that right in there like so. Yeah, we're just eyeballing this, and the great thing about crates, and I think this is why it's always a great newbie project, is crates aren't always they're not always constructed nicely. I forgot to make this big enough so it was overlapping that edge. So you can have you can not as worry about having everything snapping perfectly when you're doing a crate, because crates in life are slapped together fairly quickly, but usually by people needing to ship things with haste. So I'm going to duplicate this, and let's see, I want this to go this way 90 degrees.
You like it this way, yes?
Well, the wonderful thing here is, okay, I'm almost wondering, I'm just looking at how these triangles butt against each other. And you notice they're uneven, right? Because of their shape, they're uneven. So you get a little bit of this, which is great. And you can see that in the reference a little bit. I can't get that close on here because I don't have better references for that particular thing. But what I'll do is I'll go and I'll merge these down. And I'll just rename this as I go to triangle support 01, and I'll probably merge all the triangle supports together as I go, but I can mirror and weld this. Turn on, just gonna click on my crate here. This is where my symmetry is here. Okay, so if I mirror this, I can mirror and weld this that way, and I can mirror and weld it on Z, and I can mirror weld it on Y. Now I've got these supports on all sides, which is kind of awesome. So let's update where we got here. So now we've got our cross member support, these supports. You know, we're probably moving something fairly big or whatever. So we're going to assume that plywood is the walls on this, so that it's a flat plywood. What I do notice is, at least not in the areas where we're supporting it like this, but on these guys, so I'll grab my Z modeler, these walls would not be inside as much. So I'm just going to pull these back out. So they don't have as much depth, and that'll also make it a little bit different feeling as we turn it around, hopefully add a little bit of visual interest. Now, something that is important when you're doing these projects after you kind of get the initial block in, and if this was a game res object, we would probably still bevel things a little bit. I'm not going to bevel the outer edges because that's where the wood butts together. Well, maybe. Let's see if I bevel it just a tiny bit, because ZBrush sometimes is really weird with how it bevels things. See, I got that. It's being really... See, it'll create that extra section edge, and then if I go to insert and I want to delete that, I can get it. If I want to delete it the way I expect, I think I'd have to actually bevel I have to get it to bevel the other part. So what I might be better off, so because it's doing that, I might be better off manually doing something like that, just eyeballing it in, popping that over like so, and then making sure I do this on all sides because I need that bevel to be somewhat uniform. So now that I've got that, just double check I got it on all sides there, and the top, which is where I'm deleting this, and then we'll kind of bring it in on the bottom. And so what I'd like to do, go to, because of how ZBrush works, I'm going to try doing the delete multiple edge loops and see if that will work for me, which it did not. So what I may end up having to do, single edge loop. So it created a divot for me there, which is not my aim. It only created it partially.
You know, the divot's not your aim, but might be a good idea.
Well, in terms of making the surface uneven, sure does that, but it does not give us what we need in terms of this. So there's another way I can go about making my topology have bevels in ZBrush. Now, I should also consider. No, I won't let me do that. That's what I thought. So I'm also going to consider, because I can bevel the inside no problem, like the way these are set up. I can do this. It's what it doesn't like is trying to deal with. Oh, I forgot one there. It doesn't like trying to deal with the way these corners are set up. Now, I can fix that too. By either remodeling the box, which I'm not going to do. Well, no, I'm not going to do it. Or I could add in slices here and fix the topology so that I'm not getting these weird triangle points, which is something I might do. We'll see. I see Massini sent a bunch of crate links a while ago that I just looked at now for fun.
Anything you could use?
Yeah, no.
No, I was just like, you were looking for something, so I was like, well, yeah. Let's try to see if it was something you can use.
No, I do appreciate it, though.
At least Quantum, he didn't show anything, you know? Okay.
That's right. That's right, that jerk. Oh yeah, what was I getting at? Oh yes, dynamic subdivision allows me to do something like this, and then I have flat, smooth, and I have O-grid, so I can do something like this. And as you can see, I'm getting that beveling that I'm expecting now with that. My concern with this is I think I still get it if I do the hard subdividing. You can see I am actually getting it on here quite nicely. And I want to mix two subdivision levels, I think. So now I'm getting that bevel. So my concern is I'll duplicate this and just solo it so we can look at what happens. So right now I've got a couple subdivision levels. I don't want this to be super high poly, and I don't want the topology to be really unorganized. So I'm going to apply this and see where I ended up here, which 13,000 points now, which is a lot. So I'm going to undo that. So now we're back to dynamic. I'll take off that one smooth layer and I'll apply it. That's not as terrible. This is 13,000 or 3,000, which is still a lot for a crate, but I can at least optimize this now. There's a possibility of that. So that's one possibility. The other possibility is, oh, and that was because I had smooth on still. So if I go to smooth 1, I don't like that. And you can see I've got some very bad topology being created as a result of this. So let's change this to chamfer and see if I can't get something useful there. I just want a little subtle effect. So I've changed the coverage from constant, changed the chamfer. I've actually got no subdivision levels showing at the moment. And if I apply that, that's a really good result, actually. Other than this thing here. I hate this thing, the way that's ended up. But if I want, now that I have that bevel in, oops, let's go forward once again. I might be able to use this trick here. That worked. I didn't think that was going to work. I'm going to have to choose that point. Well, that's okay. That result is actually great. It's not perfect, but I'll take the triangles. They will at least work okay for what I'm doing. And I mean, you know, that's the bevel at that point. So like that. So I'm just wondering where I've got this. I'm just going back to my subdivision level to kind of redo what I'm doing. So I'm going to try going back to the bevel, taking the constant off of that, where I'm just getting that slight bevel and applying that, which still gets me within that target. Let's see if I can figure out a trick with these. Stitch to midpoint. Nope. See, in theory that should work out for every corner. That one. If I go down here, same fucking deal. It's not terrible. That's what I want. I want to try to manipulate the way ZBrush does topology as much as possible. See, I can do that. Then I have to do that. Then it just becomes a chasing. I think I will settle with just the one triangle on there. And then if I really want, if I want to be sticky about topology, is I can delete that, I can delete this, I can delete this. And 648, I can live with that. So I'm going to hide the original one, and I'm going to rename this base create chamfer in case I have problems with it later. I have another one. And since I haven't saved this project yet, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we'll put it under the new stuff, I think. New folder, cube, or create stream, create job 001. Because I'm doing a great job, guys. You should give me applause for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm going to bevel these guys just a little bit.
Only a little bit?
Only a little bit. I'm
Only a
only going
little
to
bit.
bevel it on the outside part of it too. We're not going to see the inner part of it. So it's not going to matter at all. I think these are on. Nope. These are on Y. New. Oh, these are the ones I rotated, eh? So I have to do each one anyway. That's fine. And I guess I will apply supporting edges to this as well. Single edge loop. Single edge loop. And like so. Like so. And we get fairly efficient, and we'll fix the other end too. Like so, and I should probably just for the supporting effect of it. If I really wanted to be a stickler, like this is a game asset, I would probably add all this in after I baked it into the low poly, or while baking, and then subtract it later for the UV part of it, because you can still edit the topology a little bit after you knock up the UVs. It just takes a little bit of planning. So that looks, you can see though what the beveling does, right? It adds a little bit more light, bounces off of it in a more natural way. And so we're going to do the same thing with this acid. I'm just going to bevel it only a little tiny bit. I probably will have to do most of these by hand. There's probably one of these that didn't get touched yet. That's done, that's done. Oh, there we go. That's all of those guys. At the top. Let's make sure I get all the bottom ones done. Fantastic. If I were to subdivide those guys, I'm just going to add subdivision levels that are dynamic and smooth. Because if I add any smooth subdivision levels, they're going to soften right up. And I don't really want to add supporting onto that, so I'll leave it like that, flat. This guy here, kind of the same deal. Now that the other stuff is figured out, and how's that? Yeah, it's not adding any further, so that's good. And with this board here, I've already got dynamic. We actually got smooth subdivision levels on. Add 1 and 1. I'll probably add a little bit more. So with those corners going in, that's fine because we got these boards that are supporting it. So that's our basic crate, right? Like you can see if I snap this guy right down here, it's pretty good. But, and definitely it does happen, some of these are held together by glue, but some of these are held together by nails, and you can see they put a ton of like finishing nails in these. Now it kind of leaves me conflicted. Let's see if I can open this image in a new tab. Not a very big one. Let's see if I can find one that actually shows the finishing nails in it. One's not terrible. Yeah, you can actually see the nails in this one. This one's actually screwed together. Which they definitely do on some of these bigger ones. I'm trying to see if I can find an image that we can see close enough on some of these bigger ones that have been held together. This one somebody put together with a nail gun. You can see how the nails go in. There's two different ways I can do that kind of texturing. I can do it in Substance Painter, and I can do it with the brush in ZBrush. It might be easier to do it in Substance Painter because of the level of detail. When you try to bake that, it doesn't always bake. The other advantage of doing it in Substance Painter, because it's a small detail, is that we're going to paint it directly on and we have full editing control, whereas if I sculpt that kind of detail onto my crate directly, I'm going to lose that editing control of it a little bit. It means I have to do a rebake every time, and I don't really want to do that. So, you know, I'll keep this as plain as possible. That way, if I really want, I could decide, okay, maybe this will be a metal crate, and I could change my materials, and the construction could still be very similar. You know, and I have other options that way. So that said, we're probably going to have to figure out a wood grain thing in Substance. It has some pretty good default ones, so maybe I'll just play with what's in there and use it. We want to keep it looking like it's got these plywood pieces. So in terms of the UV part of this, this is an object that should actually be really easy to UV by hand. But I decided tonight that I'm going to be a little bit lazy with it, and I'm going to let UV Master kind of handle that. But I don't want it to have, I'm going to delete this original crate here. And I'm going to save this file before I start mucking around with this. Great job. 2. I've got on this object a fair number of different UV sides, and I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that, and actually what I'm going to try and do is isolate. So don't like where this is isolating so much of this stuff, so delete that. Double this because I think I got some other ones, so I'm going to auto group this. I want all these faces to be separate, so I'm going to auto group them so that they all have a different poly group. And so if I do this, I hide that. I do want to grab this little bit of beveling. I don't want it to be the upper part. So I'm gonna go around each one of these faces, and I'm gonna do the regrouping of just the face with that little bit of extra trim, so that I don't get weird seaming happening, because that's what's gonna happen. Because the way ZBrush, the way UV Master works is it will use anything you tell it. So you can paint on the mesh a little bit, and you can also give it good polygroups. And the more time you spend doing it, the better results you get. So that's that section. For these guys here, I'm actually going to create a polygroup on the back of each of these boards. So restore my custom UI and turn off dynamic for a sec. And yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to auto group so that each one of these has a group. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with. I'm going to isolate one of them. At least I'm going to try to. And using a little bit of trickery, I'll hide some of this. I'll turn on double so I can see what's there and what's not. Control Shift and S shrinks my selection or visible selection for the show and hide part. And now that back is properly separated as a group. I'll do the same thing here. Control Shift S again to shrink that down. Control W to apply group to the visible tool, also is apply group to masked. So that tells Substance Painter to separate that back face completely, and also then it will try to add seams to relax the top part of that really nicely for me. And so we're going to do a similar thing here. We've already got, so the great thing is I've already got two polygroups here. I got these borders and I've got these other edges. And if I turn on double, you'll see both of them. So we're going to actually use an advanced polygrouping thing. It's called polygroup by normals. So they go under polygroups here. We're going to do polygroups by normals. To have it by, yeah, we'll do it by normals, which not quite want to do what I'd want it to do now that I think about it. What I will do is I'll make these all one group, and I'll make sure these are one group. And because these are separate objects in themselves, the front and the back, it will lay them all flat for me ideally when they do get UV. So that makes it really easy for me to add the UVs to this. Now, because these little insert 2x4s and these little triangle pieces are so low, I'm going to merge them together. So I'm going to merge down, and I'll make them their own UV set. Hopefully that'll work out, and I'll make the crate itself its own UV set. Hopefully that'll work out, and then we'll subdivide them together hopefully, and that will make everything look real nice.
It looks like it.
Alright, so first things first. I'm going to save it again now that I've gone through that little bit of tweaking. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it make a difference, but it will. And I'm going to rename this bottom one outside detail, or maybe we'll go outside support crate, and this top one is base crate chamfer. I'll run UV master polygroups. I'll take symmetry off because we don't really have symmetry going on.
We don't?
Well, we'll use it, but it may not provide any real benefit. And we'll go unwrap all. And that didn't take very long because they're only dynamically subdivided, but they're actually very low poly, right? And if I want to preview what I got going on, I can flatten this, and I can check out my UV setup. Now, a little bit funky as you can see. So, one of the things you can do in ZBrush is I can edit these UVs that it's created. So what I'll do is I'll run an auto group, not going to affect anything at all, and then I can grab a piece like this, isolate it. I can center this, turn off symmetry, and I can actually, if I want, it's a flat piece of geometry, I can try to flatten this out and fix, like you can see some of the stuff overlapped here. That's a good example. So I can click my move brush and I can fix that. So that's the first thing I'll do is I'll fix it. And actually I can also, as another thing, I can use the smooth brush on here and smooth it to fix that. But because of the topology, it's just easier to grab this and move one side to the other. Oh, maybe not. Maybe we will do that. And I can grab just a single piece like so. Yeah.
That was the best I could build right now before you started making it more. I could, keep up to that point, and then suddenly I just had it there. I just think about giving a bit time. I think I could do what you're doing there. I'm just doing it a bit different.
Absolutely.
What I did, I actually made one side, and after that I copy pasted it and added to vertices all over. I could even have mirrored it instead if I knew how to do it right, but
yeah,
I'm used to using the modifier function, not modifier, but the duplicate function and extrude function. So it's like it's easier for me, and then snap to vertice.
Yeah. So
and
what
of course
doing,
afterwards adding in all the textures for each plane, right?
Yeah. So what I'm doing now is probably above and beyond what I actually need to do for this. I definitely don't need to isolate all these and like modify them and modify how it's baked and move them around. ZBrush has done a pretty okay job laying this stuff out. These are all the tops and bottoms, and there will be a little bit of seaming on these, but what I can do, if I really want, is I could increase the size of a lot of this a fair bit. I think I can repack this a little bit better, so that's what I'm going to focus on. I think if I were to flip this sideways, mask it, invert it, I think I would get a little bit more for a couple of these pieces. Which will allow me to increase the UV space usage. Because ultimately, you want to be able to try to get as much texture as you can out of stuff, right?
No. As you can see here, that's the result I got when I just rendered it. And I only textured it, I didn't do anything else than texture.
No, that's pretty good. You know what? I'll pop it up on the stream here in just a sec.
There you go. Though it's because the lighting, but otherwise not. Yeah, that's my first attempt for building a box. And then I know Quantum is gonna say, that's a lie, Misni, you've done that before. Actually, nope, that's my first time.
No, that's pretty fair. I think that's pretty good.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yes, you were. Come on, say it. Do it. Do it now. That's how it looks like in the editor before I render it.
Say it. If anything, I always just make sure you're using Filmic. That's pretty much it.
Filmic.
Yeah, it's the better color space. Instead of using old 1993 computer.
Mm.
In order to go and change that, you'd let me open it up.
I'm going out for a cigarette right now, so. But at least I know I could follow you for some of the tutorial, Larvantholos, and then afterwards I was like, with the extra quality, I couldn't keep up with that.
Well, that's fair.
Because I don't have those extra functionalities where you can just, pop in those extras like you showed before, that you were working out how C+ could make those, so it didn't have that vertic count.
Yeah. Well, that's also you would just do it differently in Blender, I think. So there is that too. So what I'm doing now is just kind of adjusting the pack on these a little bit so that I can get that extra space. Because actually I can pop that guy right over there. If I want, I can do that. Yeah, grab that guy. Oops. I want to reset that. Just want to give a little bit of texture space to that. And kind of in the similar vein, I want to give a little bit of texture space to that. I think I can flip that around.
But still, as I told you before, Quantum, my abilities with it, it's more like, putting them to vertices and get the things fixed. It's not like what you guys are doing. It takes a lot of time to work with that damn UV layout.
Yeah,
Especially
well, I could have just left it as is, but I felt like where I'm doing something so simple, I should spend a minute just working on relaying out those UVs just a little bit.
No, but I was still inside. I'm still outside, but I'm like, the UV layout is more my work. It's more like, adding a, yeah?
I just use Smart UV Project most of the time. An automated process like Larvantholos is doing.
Yeah. But still, that's some of the things I actually haven't gotten around to know.
Yeah. It's just, instead of saying unwrap, you just go down one more and just say Smart Unwrap.
Yeah.
And in case it doesn't do it, there's another thing that could be really useful.
Let's see.
Alright, so that's me editing those UVs.
Let's try it out and see.
And so I'm going to save this. 3, 4, and then I'm just going to check out what it did for the other UVs, which they're probably going to be pretty fine, but I might adjust the how things are positioned a little bit.
You said it was called unwrap what? Under the unwrap?
Yeah, can see some things are skewed.
It's called
here.
Smart UV Project. It's right under Unwrap.
Not so
Then it's
much
a plugin.
worried
Then
about
it's a
the
plugin you're
borders.
Are you using a button to press Unwrap?
No. I'm pressing
Are
UVs
you-
in the button.
Or are you pressing select them all and then press U
Let's try.
in edit mode?
Yeah. And press U. I did that.
And right under Unwrap should be Smart UV Project.
I don't have it.
Those are the backs. They
What version of Blender are you using?
2.79. I'm having this here. Unless I'm doing
Isn't
the wrong
there like
section.
a version 4 of Blender now out?
Nope.
There's one 2.8. That's the newest one they're working on.
Oh,
So unless you're
Not using anything special. Wait a second. You're using the wrong button.
which button?
You're using like Control E. I said U.
Yeah, I did press U. It's not that, but that's my live view when I'm looking at the UV's layout. I'm looking at the UV image editor.
Oh, don't go there.
Where the one?
I told you to select all in edit mode.
Yeah, I have select all in edit mode. If you don't,
And have your cursor on that screen and then press U.
I did that.
And you got
So now,
that? That's
okay,
that's
there it was.
not
Pressing U,
Control
yeah,
E.
unwrap, and then what? Smart UV project. Is that one the one?
Smart UV Project, yeah.
Yeah, project. Fair enough.
That's what I use most of the time. And if that doesn't do it, then I start marking scenes. Also using the live unwrap, which you see under the thing you sent me.
Yeah. Okay. That one I've been looking for a long time. Thank you so much.
Which that also was discussed during the space thing I sent you earlier.
Yeah, but I don't like him. I don't like the tutorials. That's the same thing. That's the same thing. That's the same thing with you. You don't use the tutorials on your quicks on ZBrush either, you know, because it's just not you.
What are you talking about? I'm going through the tutorials on ZBrush.
Oh, was of that impression you didn't.
What?
Yeah, I was of that impression that you didn't use the tutorials on ZBrush.
all right, children. No more fighting.
Yeah. No more fighting. Stop fighting.
Yeah, he's live streaming. God.
Yeah. He's live streaming Quantum, for God's sake. Oh no, not a new puzzle game. No more puzzle games. I can't do puzzle games now, Lava. That's too many puzzles.
Why are there so many triangles?
Yeah.
Because this is Triangle Man. Triangle Man does her thing a triangle can.
Alright then.
It's because that's the way it unwrapped it. I probably would have unwrapped some of these as whole pieces, but it's not bad because it's wood, so wood and seams are a little bit more forgiving. But what I'm doing right now is I'm adjusting kind of what gets what in terms of the UV space. So that everything has efficient UV space. I could spend a little bit more time and I could like weld some of these together and all that other BS, but I'm not going to do that. This will work just fine for what we're doing. Take a moment and stretch. I see my webcam decided to biff. pop that back up. Alright, so reasonably happy with that. The next step, we have low and high versions of this. Now, if I was using a bigger file, I may not duplicate this the way I'm going to do this next. Because there's scene management, you have a lot of pieces, you can't really do that. But because I got just 2 pieces here, I can duplicate and keep a low version and a high version of this. So what I'll do is I'll rename this first of all, and I'll tag on a low onto here. I'll do the same thing here. Rename this underscore low, because I want to be able to export and bake these, right? So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to move it to the bottom. And then I'm going to go back up, and I'm going to duplicate that, and move it to the bottom. And then this one here is going to get renamed high. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the geometry here, and I'm going to apply the subdivision change. That's 140,000. And I'm going to divide it 2 more times because I want a good amount of geometry on there to play with. And I'm going to go to this one here. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to apply the subdivisions, and then I'm going to divide it, in this case, a couple more times. And I actually need to change how I'm subdividing it. So let's add dynamic back onto there. 2 more levels, apply that. We're at 56,000. And so I don't want to, so I'm going to divide it 2 more times and apply that. That pops to that. There we go. So what I did there is I just added more dynamic subdivision levels on top, so that my topology divided the way that I expected, which was in a flat square manner. It makes a little bit of a difference. It's not going to make a huge difference, but it'll make a little bit of a difference. So we'll rename this one also to high. And then for our guys here, our low guys, we're going to turn off dynamic subdivision on both of these, so that when I do export them, it's not going to export all the high stuff on there. And so the next step I'm going to do here is we're actually going to use the FVX import export. And so we're going to click on visible, because I'm going to alternate between the high and the low on the export. So I'll export this file as create job FBX, and we're at 4 on my save, so I try to match my FBX number to 4. So 0, 0, 0, 4, low, and then we're going to alternate and put these guys as visible, the high guys, same deal, export, and I'll click on there so I get most of the name, and I'll just switch the low to high, and we're going to export that. It's going to take a little bit longer because it's a bigger file to write, and that's step 1 of making a low poly crate. And now we're going to open up, I'm going to wait till this exports because ZBrush is friendly and likes to crash sometime. Oh, that's funny, my cam just crashed again. Hi Paz3D over on Twitch. And yes, today we're making something really simple because I thought it might be fun to do it in ZBrush and then take it into Substance Painter without having to touch any of the Autodesk programs that people are entrenched in. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy those programs too, but sometimes it's fun to explore
I
alternate
just love how he
workflows.
puts that painter emote at the end.
Yeah.
I forgot what his name was, but I just love all the memes about him.
Yeah. Paz 3D is the guy's name. I know you're joking. It's alright. We're gonna make this cube into something amazing. We're gonna polish this pig, as it were. So this cube is gonna get a little bit of shine, spit polish in Substance Painter. Hopefully, as long as everything works, because you know there's no guarantees when you're baking things. But we're gonna try baking it in there with what I've done now, and see how that works out for us. Once I'm done exporting on the FBX file. That's always the problem with doing things live is you know you're waiting and there's no way to like pause the video. I tried, but they revoked my time gem privileges. So yeah.
So you're not allowed to stream more anymore for this for today on Picardo?
No, I can stream wherever I want for as long as I want.
Oh, okay. Just want to make certain.
File exported just like that. The wait is over. Need a little sugar push there. Alright, Substance Painter. Work your magic. I'll let you guys know if I look a little bit lost. It's because I haven't spent as much time since they updated the UI in it, and every time I open it up I'm like, where's all my buttons? Because I spent so much time getting used to that UI.
Before you even opened it up, you were teaching me how to use it too. And
Yeah.
I was like, it was working all great. And it was like, why is it taking him so long to find shit? I'm telling him exactly where it is. You open it up like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why. It's because they updated the UI, and like before I knew where everything was, and it was great. And don't get me wrong, I like the new UI. It's a pretty efficient UI, but I still look for things where they used to be, and you know, like all the buttons on the side and the left hand side, for example, were on the top. So I was, you know, looking for them there, and I probably should just go back and map everything onto my Wacom remote, and I'll probably get to that, but I haven't done that yet. So it's still me looking and trying to remember shortcuts and looking for stuff and all that. Alright, so low, document resolution, 496, DirectX, create low, okay. Alright, first thing that I forgot about, doesn't really matter because it's a crate, but I forgot that, actually that worked out okay. Maybe I had that in the right direction. I forgot to check that I needed to flip this when I was importing it, which I usually do. It looks like we're okay. I think because the project file I opened up in ZBrush had already been flipped. Well, thanks, Paz. It's biblical. I am not, but my mother was a religious person. Well, I should say is. She is alive still. Now we're gonna bake this thing. Baking shelf, baking shelf, baking shelf, baking shelf. Alright, so first things first, I want to make sure I select the right texture resolution. I think 4K should be more than enough. If it proves not to be, I'll bake things at higher, but in terms of this, we just wanna use this as our base, right? I'm gonna grab the high one. Now I will note this would normally be pretty fast if I was if I was baking this offline. It's going to take a little bit longer because we're streaming and we're splitting resources a little bit, but we're okay otherwise. Default settings are usually alright. I'm going to use by mesh name so that I don't get any weirdness in the baking. I'm not going to use the anti-aliasing because we're just baking specific textures, so we're not getting any benefit from that. I've set the suffix to high for the high and low for the low. So if I hit bake all textures, we should be able to do that. And it's only 2 objects, so I think everything's going to be happy. We shouldn't crash. But if my voice gets a little bit weird, which I haven't experienced yet with baking with the way my system's set up now, but if it gets weird, just let me know and I'll shut up. I'll start typing for a little bit. This is the waiting game part 2. Ooh, baking 2 objects. Ooh, magic. That's the tricky thing, right? This could go really well the first time and we're off. Or this could go terribly wrong, in which case I have to figure out what the hell I did. Well, I think I set everything up well enough. I've done the export workflow enough times that we should be okay. We'll see. We'll find out. Get a little worried about that sometimes. Well, that's why we call it baking, right? Just like when if you follow the recipe, you think, okay, I'm going to get perfect results every time, but you gotta know when you gotta tweak. See the little shadow appear from the baking process there. It's always the fun thing when you watch the maps start to pop in here in Substance Painter. While it's displaying them, sometimes you see some weird results, but usually they go away once everything's live. We'll find out, I guess, eh? So one of the things that I did while tweaking the poly groups in ZBrush first, we're baking now an ID map, which I didn't check. I think I had it set to grab actually the poly paint by default, so I might have to rebake that, but we'll use that as a mask for some of the faces to generate those seams in the wood grain. So if I did that wrong, well, there's a couple other easy ways to do it. There's the polygon fill tool. It's really handy for that kind of a thing. And we're just going to play with the default wood textures in Substance Painter. You know, there's wood rough, wood walnut, wood something or other that I can't see and haven't used before. And I think there's a texture generator in here that has wood grain on it, so we might play with that a little bit. It's really going to depend on how nice the results intend to be. Well, I see things flashing. I don't like that. No flashing stuff.
All of a sudden say not responding right at 71%.
Well, that's just it. And
okay,
when I see little things pop up, I'm like, uh-oh, have we crashed in the background? Has my driver biffed it?
Can't compute. Struggling.
Well, I use both my GPUs to push through the baking a little bit faster, so that helps.
How many polygons are there
on this model as a base? So
yeah.
The baking's done. I'll go back into ZBrush for that. So if I go,
because Past 3D was asking, by the way. No,
yeah,
he was asking it.
Take a little while. So the base, which is these 2 objects, 552 for the base crate, and then the stuff on top is 250. And for the large objects, the base crate, I've subdivided it at 2.2, and the stuff above is 3.6, respectively. So it's not terrible. If I go back on here to my layers, I'm going to delete the base. take advantage of this new drag into the viewport thing. Look at that, just like that, we got wood all over everything. And done. Thanks for coming, guys. I don't want to leave it just like this. I do like that, as usual, Substance Painter is giving me all right results across all the different layers. But obviously, we want to make this look like the crate, so I'll start with the base crate. I think I'm actually on the main one. I'm going to delete everything so I get a little bit of contrast there. I'll start in the base crate. I'll delete this, and I'll create a fill layer that I'm going to use with a mask to distinguish certain areas on the mesh. So what I like to do, did I create that as a fill layer? I did create it as a fill layer. I'm going to pick a color. This is like just so I know what's going on color. And I'm going to add a black mask. And on that black mask, I'm going to add a paint layer so that I can paint on it. And I'm going to use our fill tool, which I think is this guy here, if I remember correctly. And I'm going to use UV. And I'm going to click here, I'm going to click here. And this is going to allow me to quickly create a mask for material to go down. I could also have had an ID map. A child could. It's like so easy, right? It makes it, you know, they've added in features now that they should have had in at the beginning, but I think it just took a while for the software to mature. You can paint on here a lot easier than you used to be able to. So I am going to use that wood texture. I go back onto the layer. I'll throw this right onto the base material or resource or whatever, so that I have this. It's all masked off. And I'll use my references that I brought up. Just a sec. I have way too many windows on the go. I'll use this kind of stuff as a color guide. So obviously way too dark, but we're using a substance, so we can adjust the wood grain quite a bit. And we'll have to do some adjustments and changes, but it's like pretty good. But as you can see, a lot more contrast needs to happen. So we have different roughness values we can adjust. I probably shouldn't adjust that. I made that a little bit too shiny. And it has a lot of scratches on it, which I like to actually reduce. And let's see, technical parameters. I don't need to bother with any of that. One thing I could do, I think the UVs are alright for what the detail is showing, but if I wanted to, I could tile it more, which I don't. I'm going to keep it at 1, at least for this. And the other thing I could do is I could change it from UV projection to triplanar mapping, which in this case is not really benefiting me. I probably, for the second part though, I will, so that it maps and changes directions on each of those plane changes for the outer boards. But in this case, I think the UV projection gets me a better scale, and that's kind of what I want. So on this layer, I will add an adjustment. I think it's a filter. Maybe we'll try a level. I'll try a level adjustment first. I want to bring. Ooh, that's not gonna do what I want. That's kind of does what I want.
I'm gonna head to bed.
You're going to bed. Good riddance.
Yeah.
I mean, good night. That's what I meant to say.
I was actually considering the same thing.
Filter.
Alright, good night, Paz.
Night, night, mate. Sleep tight, and don't dream about me, okay? Then it's a nightmare.
Trust me. Seeing you would not make it the nightmare. It would make it interesting, though.
Try color balance
It's like, wait
first.
a second.
Because that's what I need to do. I need to increase. think I need to increase the reds in this. I'm thinking.
Well, night, Quantum.
You're right. Good night.
I was thinking about the same thing too.
Good night. Yeah, is it the mid-tones or the high tones I need to do? Thinking about this, the wrong filter. Let's try the contrast luminosity. Luminosity is alright. Increase the contrast is not helpful. I don't use these filters as much when I do this. I usually use some other stuff, but high pass might. Ooh, that's not doing what I want at all. No high pass filter. Try clamping the values is alright. That's really affecting my normal map though quite a bit. I don't want you to affect my normal map, my metalness, or my roughness, or my height. I just want to affect the color, which is not giving me what I'm thinking about.
So what were you thinking about?
Well, I'm trying to match more of the color. Oh, good night, Paz 3D.
Night, Patty. Paz 3D. Sleep tight.
So I want to increase the color contrast, which is what I was thinking with the contrast. I might have to apply another layer and do it that way. But I thought I would give this a shot. But we're not having a lot of success with these filters. Tried color correct. Light blend, high pass, histogram, which is definitely not. Definitely not. Oh, there we go. HSL. Oh, thank you for the follow, Apex Army. I really appreciate it. See, that might work a little bit better.
So about this time now where we are talking, that's about the same time you're thinking about the live stream tomorrow, right?
I am, yeah. Well, no, I'm thinking of doing so. And you got the wrong day again. So, well, I guess it's tomorrow now because it's 12 a.m. It would be Tuesday. So tomorrow being Monday, I'm going to be working all day, and I'm a busy day. Tuesday, the way I've got it planned is I've got meetings in the morning. In the afternoon, you're pretty much you got me until I'm done. So I'm booking. Let me just double check what my appointment time is, so that I can.
No, the reason I'm asking is because today it's Monday, tomorrow is Tuesday.
Yeah, 10 to
it's
noon.
Already.
So 1 p.m. In fact, what did I put on here? I gotta adjust the time. So 1 p.m. is what I should be getting out of my meeting at noon for the other one. So I'm planning to have you at 1 p.m. at that point.
Yeah, and that's tomorrow. So if I go to bed now, I might not be awake when you're starting.
Well, make sure that you're thinking about tomorrow as the right time, because it's Tuesday the 5th, my time. So I'm on -8 GMT. I'm doing pretty good, Apex Army. How are you doing? So I'm at -8 GMT on and my time zone. It looks like you're a day ahead, just about where you're at.
Hmm.
So right now it's 12 a.m. midnight Monday for me right now.
Yeah, and it's 9:11 a.m.
It's 11 a.m. Monday where you're at right now.
No, it's 11 minutes past 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
9:11 a.m.
Okay, so
Yeah.
9 a.m. where you are Monday.
Yeah.
So I'm planning to be on and streaming Tuesday at 1 p.m. my time.
Yeah. I should be awake around there.
Okay. Well, if you're not, I will wait for you
No,
to
you
wake
won't.
up.
You just start because
Okay.
I'll just we'll figure it out.
All right. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. There's no worries.
Yeah.
I just need to be awake for it. Otherwise, you're gonna get my cell number, then they can call me.
No, I don't need that kind of power.
Nah, no.
See, I want to adjust the saturation up just a little bit and the contrast, kind of like I would have photoshopped. But I had to think about this a little bit. I think what I should do. I don't need a smart material folder. Well, while I think about that, I'm going to add another fill layer. I'm actually duplicate this fill layer. Let's do that. Duplicate. What's Control D? I should have just hit Control D. I'm going to take this mask. I'm turning it back into a black mask. I'm going to add a paint layer. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to fill this new mask. Click on it. Alright, why are you being grumpy with me, Substance Painter? It's not letting me do what I expect. Let's call this one Outer Wood Texture. Let's call this one Inner Create Texture Outer Features. Oh, there we go. It's because I already had the damn tool selected and my brain wasn't processing that. So on this particular one, I'm going to change it to triplanar. Click back on here. And I'm going to add, oh that's right, that's a separate thing. So I'm going to add these textures onto the outside. I'll change the color too, and we'll try to get the wood grain scaled appropriately now that I'm using the triplanar for this. So first thing I want to do is I want to make this outer stuff, I don't want to make it that dark, I just want to make it a little bit darker, right? It stands out now, there's a bit of a pop. And in terms of the triplanar projection, I need to adjust the scale down quite a bit, it looks like. So that looks closer to what I think it would be. And we might have to fake some seams on the top. I didn't think about that when I was bringing it over. So there's that. But scale of 0.50, 0.25. Yeah, I think 2.5 is better. And one of the other things I can do, I think rotating the texture is appropriate there. We're gonna do 90 on the rotation. You see how it just looks like it appears to fall a little bit better? It's a nice way of doing it. So that's adjusted. It's a slightly different layer and color. I wish I had two colors to change on this particular smart material. I should probably learn Designer so that I could make those quick changes a little bit. I mean, I know the basics sort of, but I used version 1 of Designer and then I stopped using it, so I need to go in and like relearn that from the beginning. So that's quick and dirty for the inside of this. Still not super happy with the way those textures look color-wise. I feel like that has better contrast on the outside. Maybe I just try a different color setup for this one on the inside. I can get that saturation and contrast if I just play with it a little bit. Because really, I'm trying to get something a little more like this. And I almost think I need to adjust the scale in this one too. 0.5, 1.5, 2, 3. See, that might be okay. The normal is definitely way too aggressive on this. If I take height off, I'm losing that height data, but I think that's okay. I think because of how this wood grain is set up, it's too much, and you can see I'm still getting that they have that roughness in there. If I pull this out here and if I switch the light around, you can see I'm still getting that roughness. I think I like that better than it pushing that height up. And then I'm getting a better result that way. So let me just try playing with my pen a little bit on the colors to see if I can find that satisfying hue. It's kind of tricky.
Lava, I'm going to bed. I can't keep my eyes open anymore.
Well, that's fair. It's getting pretty late. Have a good night, man.
I've been up for about, what is it? Almost 20 hours. I'm like, I can feel that I'm starting to get tired. But...
Fair enough. Yeah, I may have to go and let's see if I can find an actual, just straight up alpha. Maybe I'll create one in layers.
Alright. Have a live stream, right? We talk later.
Absolutely.
See you all on the stream. Take care.
And then it was just me talking to myself. Da da da. Well, that's alright. We'll go back to this secondary object here. And I've got two different styles of wood on there. Or I could even make those metal supports that I really wanted to, but we'll go with this. So we'll add a fill. I'll go back to those materials. You can even check out what smart materials I have in there. Wow, those are a lot of smart materials. Oh yeah, I forgot we had some other wood in here. Walnut, chest style wood, beech wood veined. It's alright. Let's just pop that on. Let's just pop that on here just for the heck of it. I like that immediately just because it's a very different style. And it's got that very sharp, grainy look to it. And you can see that they've done some work with these wood veins and stuff to do that. I almost wonder if I should use that as my base on my palette. But I think the contrast works pretty well. Maybe I will try that as my base on that top part. Like if I take Alright, why are you being grumpy about dropping out of there? because it's a smart computer. That's a thought. That's right, we can still do that and then mask it. Cup mask. Add a black mask. Paste into mask. Hide that. And then all I would do is change the color here. Base wood. Match something a little more like that. See, I already like that a lot better. So what I may try and do is combine these two materials together to kind of create. Delete that for now. Control D. Duplicate this. Move it up the chain. So lower that. In this case, I'm going to remove the mask. Even just doing that is great. Now toggle the mask. Toggle this mask really is what I'm thinking. Toggle this mask again. That doesn't quite work for that. So the main thing is this base wood needs to be a lot more chill color to add a proper contrast to this. Still want to saturate it. Just have to find that sweet spot. I noticed that I also got to get the inner layers of this, so I'll have to make that adjustment on my mask here. That planar change is alright. Get those areas done. That is okay. Pretty good for a simple crate so far. Guess everybody went to bed being it's a Sunday night. I can understand that. So the main thing I want to do now is add some nails and things into this. See if I can create like a nail gun layer or something. My webcam really is failing a lot tonight. What I may want to do. I like this different wood. Obviously, the wood's not going to be bent like that, so I'm going to paint and try to create some nice little seams in there, but that's next layer is going to be Gotta be nails. Let's figure out a good alpha for this layer that we can use for putting nails in. Still wild to me that I can paint on a layer in Substance Painter now without having to think twice about it. It's pretty cool. So I need the height to go in just a little bit, maybe a little bit more. It's funny how that, oh, it's because we're looking at I don't want the flow to change. It's funny how that height perspective works. It would not affect the normal. In this case, I don't want to affect, do want to affect the metal and roughness because it's going to be a little metal roughness. Oh, saving. Pop that height back in. Alright, what just happened there? All of a sudden, oh, dirt. Yeah, I knew that. Really, I should be copying that layer. Top there. Yeah, I had a funny feeling. Nails. Figure out a good scale. So yeah, I think that's pretty great. It's supposed to be embedded a little bit in there. In fact, they're taking over a little bit of that green from the wood. It's not terrible either. Makes them look like they were hammered in. Hey Drake, how's it going? I think I saw you there for a while, but I forgot to say hi. Add a little bit of normal stamping onto this. Let's look at that. See if we can't go to the next level. See, I might be able to make that work. may not need the normal detail at all, but sometimes it creates an interesting effect when we overlap these together. So I am going to try to put probably don't want that. Screws onto here. No, I think that was just fine without the thermal attached to it. Well, but as the that might be upright. Yeah, I think we can work with that. Not trying to do these super uniform either because I want to kind of give the impression that we're doing them quickly, and we know we need a certain number of these to hold it in. I think on here, but even a little smaller. Those guys. So that's that. I want to kind of add some seams in the top of this. Oh, I hit the other one. Haha. I probably should actually delete stuff off this layer before I start going and editing it further. Alright, I'll get something to do a little bit of seaming. So we're actually not going to use color normal. Oops, no color, no normal. Change our stroke setup. So we're using no spacing. That's all right. I'll fix the little air in there afterwards. fact that you can do this in real time now in Substance is actually pretty amazing. It's pretty challenging to paint in stuff like this before. I wonder. Yeah, that looks pretty silly there. It looks okay in the top and bottom. Although I almost wonder if I should make that height a lot less steep. Let's see. Roughness closer to neutral. Talent closer to neutral. Looks better, eh? That. That's all right. Side done. Pop those back on. That adds just a little bit, eh? Little things. Oh. Now we need to stamp some stuff on there. Probably some text. So I'm going to go ahead and make a quick save of this. Create stream, new folder, substance. Create one. Now we've kind of got our crate going. Oh, I forgot to put some nails on that one side, eh? I'll go back here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample that size. Color back on. What changed on this particular layer? Oh, because it was duplicated. good. Missing me the other sides today, just that one side. Excellent. Alright, I'm going to look at reference and see if we can't find some interesting stuff to put on there. Some of them have these little maker stamps on them. Some of these have something like that. So I think we're going to start by creating a new layer. And I don't want any height on this layer. I probably will adjust the metalness and roughness a little bit, but we'll figure out what kind of stamp we want to have on there first, and what size we want that stamp, and orientation and all that. Well, that's no good because I'm on the wrong object. Alright, new layer, graphics with an S because it's funny or something. Alright, no height. I want it to be fairly neutral. Also a little bit confused why I'm getting that weird orientation change. Must have been because I had the mouse in hand. Oh, that's weird. What are we doing for a projection on this? Alignment UV. Camera. Tangent wrap. Well, that is weird. That's weird. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting random angles every time I do this. So I'm going to guess that I've got some problems with this. Size, no pressure, flow, no pressure. Angle jitter, 0. There we go. I knew something was messing with me there. Alright, let's pick our poison, as it were. I think that might be fun. I want to make this. I'll make this paint a little more metallic, I think. And then we're actually gonna bring down. We want to actually multiply this layer into there. Or relay this layer into there. That seems like a good idea. If well, I might just erode it. just little polygon faces on each of these open face sides, I think. Something like that. And then we'll put some text on there, which we do have a nice, there's nice text, things in substance. Remember correctly. If I can remember where. It was hiding in here. Let's see, there's the brush maker. Search for text. That was the alpha. Where was the text maker in here? I might have to Google that one. It's been ages and I can't seem to locate it. I'm just about at my bedtime, as it were. Get a little bit of a sound bleed.
Hello everyone, welcome to that, of one of which was a long requested.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah, I decided not to go to bed.
Decided not to go to bed? Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah, not yet. I decided to go on Painter and fiddle with the speaker I did. That was the
procedurals.
Notification. Looked at it yet.
I wonder if they stopped including that in there.
Could it be a tool?
Yeah, well, it should be under procedurals. There used to be a text tool under here for like ever, and it's gone, which is a little bit frustrating, actually. They probably put it somewhere else. I just don't know where that is. Oh, found it. Oh, that was what I was looking for with the other signs. Stamp this in here. And I'm not going to make it perfect on each one of these. Excellent. Yes, you see the irony there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to color burn. think. Color dodge. Linear burn. Maybe multiply is what I want.
Okay, I just wanted to see it.
Just wanted to see it.
Anyways.
Fair enough.
Yep, that's why I came back. Just wanted to go see it.
Alright, I'm going to do a quick save, and I'm going to do a quick render. And then I'll go back to being forever alone. So let iRay warm up. Da, 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 da. I don't want to use this for my environment. I usually hide it, but we might try. Ooh, why does it give me that terrible UV mapping there? I'm getting that all over now. Well, we'll just kind of pop it on here, I guess. Adjust that floor. Minus 1.5. Minus 1.8. Minus 2. Minus 3. We were at. There we go. Oh, is that 0.2? 0.2 minus 0.19 minus 0.195. Oops. Minus 0.195 minus 0.198 minus 0.2. That's about as close as we're going to get. Go back to my environment. I don't think that's the right environment for this. Ooh, now we're in even worse. Alright, studio setting. Let's activate color correction. And we're also going to activate the color profile. We're going to activate tone mapping. Reinhardt is usually alright. It won't do the. It won't do the color profile. Yeah, we're going to do the color correction, so we're going to set that. Play with the contrast. Adjust the brightness. Change the bias a little bit. Play with the exposure here again. Parametric exposure. Let's bring that up. Go back down, adjust our exposure down a little bit more. With our gamma a little bit again. Probably have to spend a little bit of time on those nails to make them a little more convincing because they're a little bit shiny. This crate doesn't look like it's traveled too much. I don't have any dirt layers. What I will do though is change my max time to 300, max samples to 2000, which is probably more than enough for this. I'm going to do a little bit of rendering on this. The upside down polygon is fine. I will probably adjust that tomorrow, we'll see. And I'm going to do a quick render on this and then I am crashing. But I just wanted to get something done tonight. And this seemed like a good one. Not too bad either, I think. And there we go. We're going to save this. Save render. Save it in the right folder. New stuff. Curate stream. Now just create one for screenshots. Create 001. So that'll save it with the background and everything. And then I'll also save it as a PNG. Alright guys, thanks for hanging out. Those of you that stuck around, and everybody else, we'll see you next time.